Small business office safety, how to maintain proper security at the workplace. Keep in mind that your business will succeed in the long run only if your personnel feel safe at the office and if other key stakeholders, customers, suppliers, and government officials observe that your company maintains strong operational safety measures both on and off corporate premises. Find out how to save substantial money and properly protect your business, your employees, and your customers while using cost-effective tools, policies, and technology. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I hope you are doing marvelous. I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing great today. If you're doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. Today, I want to talk to you about small business office safety, how to maintain proper security at the workplace. Number one, figure out your security needs. Now, you can either hire a security consultant who will help you assess your security needs and suggest equipment and companies to address these needs. Now, you can do that, or you can figure out things internally yourself. It is better to hire someone if you don't have the expertise required in-house, because a security consultant can also train your staff on the need for security protocols and help them keep themselves and colleagues safe and the office and your assets secure. Because when we're talking about office security, we're talking first about people, right? But we're also talking about your assets, your company's assets, as well as the company's reputation. Remember that personnel compliance will be crucial to ensuring the system you implement is effective in the long run. This is very important, especially if you have a business that has multiple locations and personnel tend to work in a decentralized way. So you want to foster compliance organization-wide. You can also contact, if you don't want to pay for a you don't want to pay a consultant, or you don't have the expertise yourself in-house, you can also contact security dealers, as they may offer free assessments. Now, you have to understand, a lot of security dealers, if not all of them, they aim to make a sale. So it's important to ask informed questions and be sure to get multiple quotes. If you are in your own building and you want to protect your staff and assets, it's better to get quotes from several, most importantly, locally owned security monitoring companies that could provide bids on solutions ranging from monitoring, building access, video surveillance, and video doorbell feed. What you want to do, you want everybody to come, not on the same day, but you want them to come. You want each of them to come to your office. They can see what you're dealing with. They can give you a complete bid package broken out by the following. You want them to talk about how they're going to fix and how much it will cost, how they're going to fix sensor installation. So we're talking about doors, windows, and motion. Monitoring. Building access via numerical pad installation. Video camera installation and monitoring. And video doorbell installation. So you want to compare those, you want to compare all bids, and you can even go beyond local producers by comparing both local and national vendors. When it comes to making a decision, there are several factors, and price is just one of them. You got to think, besides price, you got to take into account expertise. You have to take into account the array of products or services that they're offering, right? You also have to take into account customer reviews, the expertise of the provider, their reputation, and their understanding of the relevant security issues in your geography, as well as regulations that impact your business, right? So if you have, for instance, if you are in the manufacturing sector and you have a factory and you have a security provider, security solutions provider come into your factory, they have to be aware of the regulations that impact your particular business. Number one was figure out your security needs. Number two, you want to maximize the benefits. So once you have all the proposals from vendors, you want to consider the following. Think about how their proposals, how their offers, their respective offers will fit into your operations. Remember that integrating your systems and consolidating your services under one vendor could potentially save you money, right? So you want to centralize everything. So you want to integrate everything. Integration also enables one system to benefit from equipment used by another. So what I'm trying to say here is that you don't want to buy one piece of equipment from one vendor and buy the next from another. You want to centralize, right? Because for instance, if you have a fire alarm system, the monitoring stations for that system can use the feed from video surveillance to identify the location of the fire when an alert is triggered. You don't have to rely on another piece of equipment to figure the location of the fire, because generally in the last 5 to 10 years, advances in technology have enabled a lot of companies, large and small, with multiple standalone systems for things like access control, fire alarms, surveillance, and they're able to use those protocols to update with an integrated system that is mobile friendly. Mobile friendly is very important, folks. If you have a small business and you want to buttress security at the workplace, you want to have a system that is mobile friendly with apps included, because right now a lot of those security protocols use apps. So it has to be mobile friendly. It has to use cloud technology, and it even has to include smart office features. And don't get me wrong, these features are not as complicated as they seem to be. A lot of small business owners in the United States and Canada, based on our survey, they are sort of a little reluctant to adopt those solutions, but they are very easy to use, right? And your workforce will be very accustomed to it in no time. So they will be able to go home to technology-enabled spaces, and when they come to the office, the same strategy, the same deployment is there, right? So their expectations for smart office capabilities will increase. And one thing that's critical is that as you review your security needs, you want to consider opportunities to benefit from integration and smart features such as temperature and light control, cloud backup, and mobility features. All right, I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We are still here talking about small business office safety tips, and I'm explaining to you how to maintain proper security at the workplace. Step number 3, evaluate and understand security systems. Now, you cannot address security risks, gaps, and vulnerabilities if you don't understand the security systems. So it is important to consider office access control, alarm monitoring, video surveillance, and a fire alarm system. Let's break down here what we mean by access control. Now, access control systems help you manage and monitor who gets into your office and limit access to certain areas and devices. Now, the system generally authenticates the identity of the user and cross-references against a database to attain his or her access authorization level. So you're comfortable that the person who is trying to access a certain part of the company does have the authority and the clearance level to access it. Now, the system gathers and stores data that then enables a business owner to monitor movement of employees and visitors into the office, which could lead to the identification of perpetrators if there is ever a security breach or anything else, right? And in addition, it enables proactive assessment of security risks to make adjustments as needed. So that's great. Now, there are several types of access control. But there are two in the industry. There are two that are prevalent. You have traditional systems and the IP systems. So when we're talking about two approaches here, we're talking about approaches to connecting the various components within a system, right? We're talking about door readers, locks, cameras, as well as the admin system or dashboard, which is generally a computer. So traditional systems will use control panels physically connected to system equipment. So you can see this is more secure. A lot of small business owners believe this is more secure because it can be limited or costly, but it is sturdy. There are caps on the number of access points that can be attached to a control panel. So if one panel doesn't support the number of access points you require, for example, you either have to reduce the number of access points, right, or invest in additional control panels. So that's for the traditional systems. Now you have a new wave of systems called the IP systems. Those are network based, right? They connect door readers using the Ethernet or wireless connections. And this removes limits on the number of access points in the system, but there is concern about the potential for the system to be hacked, right? When it comes to anything related to IoT or artificial intelligence or 4Gs or 5G, now we have 5Gs. We always have the risk of hacking, the risk of cybercrime. So we're also talking about access control systems. When it comes to the types of access control systems, you have something called discretionary access control, the DAC, the mandatory access control, the MAC, and the role-based access control, the RBAC. And RBAC is actually the most common form. With this approach, you have roles or job titles are added to the system with a level of access assigned to each based on the access needs someone in that role will have. So when a new person is added to the system, he or she is added with a given role or job title, and the level of access is automatically assigned. This is called role-based access. Now let's talk about video surveillance. Now, video surveillance systems can both deter crime and gather evidence if one occurs, something very wonderful for law enforcement. Now, these systems include strategic placement of security cameras in the office or around the office. You have and those cameras will monitor motion and activity. They will generate alerts. They will transmit footage, and they will store footage. Right? We've seen this in movies when something happens, the management and law enforcement will go to the store cameras and see what really happened. So cameras can be both indoors, like I said, and outside. So having cameras may cause would-be burglars to bypass your business, and if a crime does occur, the video footage can be shared with both your insurance and the police. There are many options for cameras and monitoring, everything from DIY approaches to full-service monitoring of digital footage with cloud backup. If you want to choose a digital scheme, I would say you need to have a cloud backup, because videos are generally heavier than regular content. So you don't want to be storing these things in your servers. You want to go with the cloud. Okay, so the camera system may also be referred to as closed circuit television, what we call CCTV, right? As part of your office security protocol, the purpose for a video surveillance system is to deter thefts by employees, break-ins and thefts, to increase the security of your employees and customers and suppliers, to gather and store evidence if a crime does occur. All right, I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We're still having a conversation around small business office safety tips, how to maintain proper security at the workplace. And I'm just going through some of the devices, some of the systems that you will need. And we're trying to evaluate and understand security systems. So I spoke to you about access control and video surveillance. Now let's talk about monitored alarms. Now, your office, as every office in America, Canada, or in the United States, or in the whole world, is susceptible to break-ins, right? Having an alarm is part of the solution. But if no one is around to respond, or if you're located in a busy area, accustomed to many noises, including sirens, the alarm alone will likely not stop the crime. So you want to reduce your risk by having a system that is monitored by you or a professional service. The good thing is that once turned on by someone on site or via a mobile app, the system uses sensors to detect if a door or window has been opened, if a window has been broken, or if there is motion. These sensors, generally, they will trigger both the alarm and whatever alerts have been set up. So this can be anything, and the alerts will be sent to a monitoring company or to your cell phone, so that an appropriate response can be determined. Now, you have two types. You have the DIY or the professional services. It's definitely up to you. It depends on your budget. If you have the budget for it, we'll just say go ahead with the professional services. If not, just do things DIY. If you know you want professional monitoring services, there are many options to choose from. Now, there are a few factors you need to keep in mind, because if cost is an issue, you want to pay attention to the equipment, the installation, and the monthly monitoring services. Those are the three elements that you have to think about. The cost element you have to think about when resorting to a professional monitoring service. Now, let's talk about fire alarm systems. Now, the National Fire Protection Association reports that fire departments responded to more than 20,000 fires at businesses each year in the last 5 years. 20,000 fires. Now, if you are in a state such as California that is more susceptible to fires, that number even goes up. So these fires resulted in yearly property loss in excess of nearly $1 billion and 12 deaths. So fire alarm systems can help you protect both your people and property, often detecting issues well before you or your employees might. Now, the great thing is nowadays we have very sophisticated systems, and those systems not only alert those in the building, they also send information to the monitoring company to dispatch emergency responders, right? So they will send an info to the fire department, and they will contact 911 and all the other emergency responders. Now, there are several components to a commercial fire alarm system that you need to know about. You have the control panel. This is what really this monitors the input and the system integrity, and it also controls the output and send the information. You have the power supplies, so both primary and secondary. Secondary, that's just the backup. You need to have the initiating devices. I'm just telling you this because if you want to do things DIY, you need to know the several components, the main components of a commercial fire alarm system. Otherwise, you might be sued by your insurance company, by the regulators, by your employees for negligence. So you need to have power supplies. You need to have initiating devices. These are the components that indicate there is a fire. So you have two types. You have the automatic. These are detectors that can measure smoke, heat, CO2, and flame. And then you have the manual. The manual one requires a person to initiate them. So this is the kind of examples that you have at polling stations, and you have polling stations and alarm buttons. Besides the control panel, the power supplies, and the initiating devices, you also need notification appliances. These alert building occupants to fire. For example, sirens, speakers, and flashing lights. You also need building safety interfaces, which are things that help people exit the building safely, such as exit lighting and ventilation systems that redirect toxic smoke. And finally, you will need systems that include things like sprinklers, remote display, and control panels, two-way communications, fire doors, and elevator recall capabilities. They may also be integrated with other security systems or smart office technology, right? So these are things you really need. Now, what are the types of fire alarms? There are two primary types of fire alarm systems, and each has its pros and cons. We're not going into the details here, but just keep in mind you have the conventional fire alarm and you have the addressable fire alarm system. So the conventional system links each initiating device to the control panel on its own wire and can be set up in zones. So when an initiating device is triggered, the system basically can identify the zone of the service of the device rather, which can help to somewhat narrow down the location of the fire. So for a small business, you may only need one zone, and as these devices are less expensive, this may be the simplest and most cost-effective option for you. Now, if you have larger needs, if you are a mid-sized business, or you're a small business but you want to increase your budget for occupational safety, You might want to go with the addressable system. The addressable system is the digital fire system, and each device has its own address on the system, which means that you can identify the exact location of the triggered device and send fire personnel directly to the location of the fire. In the addressable, addressable system, all devices are connected on one wire that is looped to the control panel, so it is centralized, right? So that means that if one end is damaged, the system can still send communications to the control panel through the other end of the loop. Because each device sits in a loop isolation module, the circuit therefore isn't broken. That's beautiful. Even if it becomes disconnected or damaged, it is not broken. Now, this alarm also have additional features such as detecting the flow of air through smoke detectors to reduce the risk of false alarms, which can be a money saver in the long run, right? And another beauty of the addressable systems is that they're more customizable and generally used for larger buildings or complexes. All right, so this is the end of today's conversation, folks. I hope that you found it as relevant and helpful to your business as possible. If you love the clarity and the quality of the content so far or today's show, please consider subscribing to our channel. Turn on the notification bell so that you are informed in real time whenever we drop a new show. And we do this every single day, rain or shine. Comment below, like this content, and share. Here is a recap of today's conversation. How to maintain proper security at the workplace. Number 1, figure out your security needs. Number 2, maximize the benefits. Number 3, evaluate and understand security systems, and there are 4 of them. You have access control, video surveillance, monitored alarms, and fire alarm systems. I will talk to you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.